You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Ink Dependence. I'm Mike, and this is Diplomat ink. This is Diplomat Orchid Pink, courtesy of Dromgoole's Pens. They sent this out after I said, hey, can I try out some of this Diplomat ink? And so they sent me a few bottles. And this ink is made in Germany by Octopus Fluids. They actually say who made the ink, which I quite like. Octopus Fluids is a German ink maker of all kinds of inks. If you Google them up, they have everything from like printer ink and industrial stuff to fountain pen ink, right? So all kinds of stuff. This bottle, like the one for Deep Green, which I just reviewed, is the kind of standard German ink bottle. This is what I think of a German ink bottle as looking like. Kaweco looks like this. The Pelikan 4001 inks look like this. Seitz Kreuznachs comes in bottles like this, and so does Diplomat. So I think it's a very standard sort of bottle, and it's a perfectly good bottle. I like it just fine. It is a little bit on the shallow side, but it does have these nice corners, and you can sit it on the corner when your ink gets low, so it's below here, and that makes it easier to fill, because if you had that much ink in here, it would be really hard to get your nib in there. So you can put it on a corner. Don't do that when it's full. That's a terrible idea. All right, let's see what this looks like on some paper. This is an ink that I was real excited about when I saw it on a swatch the first time. So this is the swatch on a Colodex card, which is my standard for ink swatching. You can find these at all kinds of retailers, and also at Anna Reinert's site, Well Appointed Desk, where she makes these things. And I think it looks really nice on there. It also looks really good in this swatch, which I literally just did because I forgot to do this ahead of time. So let's talk a little bit about this ink. It looks really cool in a swatch, but I gotta say, when I put it in a pen for the first time, I was kind of disappointed. And you can see over here, I've listed it as pretty dry. So this is the first pen I put it in. I was looking through my pen case. I'm like, what have I not used in a while that I would like to use? And this one seemed cool. I thought the red barrel would go nicely with the pink. It has a medium nib. I'm pretty sure this is after Monteverde switched to Jowo nibs. It's actually a very nice medium nib to write with. Pretty medium flow, all that jazz. Nothing weird going on there. But with this ink, it feels bad. So with one exception that we'll talk about here in a little bit, it feels kind of bad to write with it. Like it feels dry. It feels like you're writing on a page with no ink. Like you just take a nib and just like put it on a page. Sometimes it'll feel like you can feel like the metal on the paper. It's like, I wish there was some ink there. Kind of that's what it feels like with this. So it writes dry. And also you can see it is a very different color between these two words, and that's because I put it in a very different nib, and I kind of went all the way the other direction, which is I went for a real fire hose of a nib, and that is the Leonardo Momento Zero in broad. This nib is an absolute fire hose. It is kind of too wet in a lot of situations, and so this might be a really good ink for it. And indeed, this does look a lot better, and it feels better, although it does still have a little bit of a dry feeling on the page. But you do get better flow, and you can see the color is more interesting. This pale pink is just not, it just doesn't do it for me. Maybe it does for you, but I like my inks with a little bit more depth, and I think you get that from the broad. But you also get like some small amount of feathering and a little bit of bleeding. This ink does seem to want to bleed a little bit. Here in the swatch, you can see it went through the rhodia just a skosh, not a huge amount, but a little bit. And you can also see down here some places it was trying to bleed through a little bit as well. So, and up here, not a huge amount, but I mean, nothing should be bleeding through rhodia. So I guess the right nib is somewhere between these two, the regular medium and the super wet broad. I don't know, a wet medium or a dry broad. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to dial these things in, but just like Deep Green before this, this Diplomat ink is kind of on the persnickety side when it comes to papers and pens. There is another paper I'll show you shortly, which this ink looks great on and feels really good from the medium nib. So, you know, it really is sort of that three-pointed thing. You got to have paper, ink, and pen all lined up together perfectly, and this one's kind of persnickety. So down here, I say, yep, thanks to Dromgoole's. This is $10.80 for 30 mils in this bottle. I think you can also probably get samples of this there, but I haven't really checked. So let's go ahead and do the water test right quick. Where is it? Here we go. That should be enough water. Jeez, good job, Mike. Okay. Let's mop this up with a clean corner of our paper towel. There we go. All right. Picked up a cat hair, of course. Good job. So, yeah, you actually do get a little bit of water resistance here. A lot of the pink came up, as you could see it kind of swirling away. But you are left with this light pink, which honestly isn't really any lighter than what you get when you write with a medium nib with this ink, so that seems fine. Let's look at the chromatography and some different papers, and then compare it to some other pinks. All right, so here's the chromatography, and you can see there's pink all throughout this column. You get some nice, like, sort of lavender up at the top and light pink at the bottom, but we had a lot of the pink stick around, and we had a lot of the pink stick around on our water test, so not a super surprise. It is interesting how much of the pink got left behind in that column. You don't see that a whole lot, especially not with a pink, really. And then look at this edge over here. That's really kind of cool. It kind of collected on that edge somehow. Neat. Okay, so some other papers. This is the 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper from Staples, and this is the medium nib and then the broad nib here. You can see there really wasn't any problem here with the medium nib on this paper. That is predictable because it's kind of dry, so there wasn't a whole lot of ink hitting the page, and didn't really have any problems. And also, kind of the broad nib seems fine on this paper too. It had a little bit of a tendency to go through the rhodia, but not this 30% recycled. I don't know, man. I think you can see a little bit of a bleed through here, but that's actually better than some of these others, and these pens are not nearly as wet as this broad nib. So this might be a really good ink if you want to have a pink ink that will tame your wet writers. This might be a way to go. All right, here is my ink journal. This is Tomoe River. Let's see. Here's one right there. I kept writing Diamine Orchid for this, and I don't know why. Maybe there's a Diamine Orchid that I had in my mind, but I think it looks pretty good there from that medium. And actually, it felt really nice on here when I was just writing the word Diplomat. Like on Tomoe River, this very, very smooth paper. It was fine. And I think it looks okay here too. It's a little bit on the pale side, but it's not bad. And then here it is from that broad nib, and you get all kinds of cool character from it here. You actually get some shading, no sheen or anything. There's no sheen in this ink that I've seen, but no problems going through Tomoe River or anything like that. So pretty well. It behaves itself really well on here, and I think it looks nice. So if you're putting it on the really good paper, stuff is good. And lastly, for paper test, this is my Inky Fingers currently inked notebook. This is wheat straw paper. And there you go. There are the two samples. So here it is from that medium, and it doesn't feel great on here. This paper has a little bit of texture to it, and this ink just didn't really want to put down a whole lot of ink. You know what I'm saying? And then here with the broad, very similar actually, looking to this one right there. Now you'd think they might be different inks, but they're not. I promise. It's the same ink, two different pens, just much more flow here. And I think it went just fine on this one with the broad nib. And no problems, I don't think, with bleeding. No, nothing there. No. So, yeah, it really only gave me a little bit of bleeding on the rhodia. I don't know, man. That's very strange, but sometimes it happens. Okay, so here is the Diplomat Orchid on Colodex carved. We already looked at that. I only have like 4 cards or 3 other cards to show you. I didn't have very much that was even similar to this. So while I'm saying like, it's kind of a boring pink, it's also not like much that I have. So here's Kyonoto's Imeoru? I don't know how to say this one at all, so somebody will help me out in the comments, I'm sure. Thank you very much. And I think this is a much darker pink than Orchid is, but in the same vein. Then if you want to go lighter, the Sailor Bungbox Sweet Love Pink. This is a classic. Everybody knows about Sweet Love Pink. Sweet Love Pink, I think, is a brighter and more fun pink than Orchid. But, kind of close. And then lastly, I've got Platinum's Cyclamen Pink, which I think is a really good ink. You don't hear a whole lot about this Platinum mix-free ink, but these Platinum mix-free inks are real nice, and this pink is just in your face. And you get about the same kind of color here in the lighter swatch of Cyclamen as you do in Orchid. So this might be the closest, at least here-ish, So check that one out. Platinum Cyclone Pink, very nice pink ink, underutilized. Okay, so here you go. This has been Diplomat Orchid. Thanks very much for hanging out and learning about this ink with me. It's been interesting. I can't wait to see what the rest of the Diplomats are like, because I've had a really wet ink, I've had a dry ink. Now let's see what else we've got in that collection. See y'all later. Peace out. Comment, subscribe, YouTube things, watch another video, that's it. All right, bye.